You recently accused Senator Mark Kelly, a veteran, an astronaut, of crossing the line for participating in a video reminding troops that they can refuse to follow illegal orders.
Okay.
Let's see some of what you said, my friend.
Sure.
Let's be very clear before moving forward. D.L. Hughley didn't nudge Stephen A. with a soft critique. He dropped a razor-sharp breakdown that shook the internet. It put a spotlight on everything sloppy about Stephen A.'s push to look politically serious. And when people said Hughley just absolutely baptized Stephen A. Smith, viewers were stunned watching it all unravel in real time.
You know better, Senator Kelly. You know better. How dare you do that? You could go to the House. You can draw up paperwork. You can try to start articles of impeachment if you think there's something illegal. I mean, damn, it ain't like y'all haven't done it before. You impeached the man twice. Where'd that get you? Got us behind back in the White House. Had you left him alone since 2020, maybe he wouldn't be back. You don't tell military men and women to ignore an order from the commander-in-chief. You don't do that.
This wasn't friendly debate energy. This wasn't two professionals calmly swapping opinions. This was Stephen A.'s entire political image getting ripped apart live in front of millions after he made reckless accusations toward Mark Kelly, a decorated Navy pilot, suggesting he was basically encouraging troops to defy the president. And even when Stephen A. had multiple chances to slow it down, clarify his point, or show a little humility, he refused, flat out. Instead, Stephen A. doubled down hard.
Caffeine's a bitch, you know?
Now let me just remind you that Pete Hegseth said in 2016, I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. Okay. Now, given the fact that the secretary himself said that, I'd love to give you the opportunity to perhaps change your position on what you said.
I'm not changing a thing.
Okay.
I didn't stutter when I said it.
You want to stay loud and wrong?
Well, you could call it loud and wrong all you want to. You're entitled to your opinion. I'm entitled to mine.
Okay.
Here's the reality of the situation. First of all, I don't give a damn what Pete Hegseth has to say because I will tell you right now, he was never qualified for the job.
And you are.
When you talk about DEI and eradicating that, excuse me, what was he doing hosting Fox News on the weekend and all of a sudden he's the defense secretary?
Right.
Please give me a break. I don't care what he has to say.
That's
Let
right.
me get that out the way. As it pertains to Mark Kelly, what I was talking about is military. What I did was get on the phone with family and friends who have served in the military. And I said, we're not civilians. This is not the court of law. You can be implicated for implying something if you are a former military member or you are a present military member. It wasn't what Mark Kelly said. It's the fact that he was a combat Navy pilot who served in the military who would tell folks, ignore an order when it could get
Ignore
them
an
an order.
illegal
He did not say
I said
ignore.
illegal.
That's what he
I said illegal. I'm talking about illegal. I understand that.
He said you don't have to follow an unlawful order, and that is in the military code of conduct.
And I'm saying to you, hold on, which I'm aware of.
But it didn't sound like you were aware of that.
He's aware of that. He's aware of that. Yeah.
No. I disagree with you.
Stephen, can I ask you a question?
I had two governors, by the way, text me to tell me I was wrong, and they agree with you.
You are wrong.
I had two senators that reached out to me and said, you weren't wrong at all.
Well, Mikey Sherrill did say that the reason they felt the need to put that out is they were constantly being approached by people in the military saying, we're being put in really uncomfortable situations.
But
that to me is a little more relatable when you're a veteran yourself.
But I'm saying let me say this real quick.
You gotta do real quick, or wait till we come back.
All I'm saying is this. If you're a member of the military, I'm looking at the soldiers as saying, don't get yourself in trouble. Let somebody else do it. Don't you do it because it ain't gonna work for you.
He got louder, more defensive, and proved exactly what D.L. Hughley warned about. Stephen A. believes volume equals authority, and that mindset got exposed instantly for everyone to see. Now, here's why D.L. Hughley's words hit so heavy, and why Stephen A.'s appearance on The View somehow made everything worse. What played out was a man forcing his way into political conversation so aggressively that he didn't even realize he was torching his own credibility in the process.
There are some guys at Leavenworth who made really bad choices on the battlefield. And I do think there have to be consequences for abject war crimes. If you're doing something that is just completely unlawful and ruthless, then there is a consequence for that. That's why the military said it won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief. There's a standard, there's an ethos, there's a belief that we are above what so many things that our enemies or others would do.
When Stephen A. sat at that table, he wasn't just defending a take, he accidentally put his biggest insecurity on display.
Because he believes, obviously, that being loud and wrong is leadership. But being loud and wrong is the sole province of old white dudes. They're the only ones who are going to get to be loud and wrong.
And then he delivered the knockout punch.
What the ironic thing is Stephen A. Smith is a broadcaster who thinks he can be president.
Co-host Sonny Hostin handed him a clean exit ramp by pointing out that Pete Hegseth had said nearly the exact same thing back in 2016. Hegseth said the military won't follow unlawful orders from their commander-in-chief.
It's a tale of two black men. One who believes that being loud and wrong is leadership, Stephen A. Smith, and one is Admiral Alvin Hughley. Don't be a Stephen A. Smith. Be an Admiral Hughley.
The same principle, word for word. Sonny calmly asked a simple question. Since Hegseth said the same thing, would Stephen A. like to adjust his position? Stephen A. snapped back instantly. I'm not changing a thing. I didn't stutter once. And just like that, instead of reflecting, he cranked the volume even higher.
In this world that exists like that, don't be a Stephen A. Smith. Be an Admiral Hughley.
He started talking about calling his military friends, scrambling to justify why Mark Kelly, a trained Navy combat pilot, supposedly shouldn't have said something that's already written into military code. Then came the most revealing moment of the entire situation. Stephen A. flat out said, "I don't give a damn what Pete Hegseth has to say because he was never qualified for the job." What was he doing hosting Fox News on the weekend and all of a sudden he's the defense secretary? And the second those words left his mouth, the whole argument flipped upside down. Because let's really be honest, Stephen A. Smith, a sports commentator who built his whole platform off ESPN and podcasts, just tried to disqualify someone else for coming from television first. That irony landed loud, awkward, and impossible to dodge, and the internet clocked it instantly. This is the exact point D.L. Hughley was pressing. Being loud doesn't make you right, and noise is not leadership. Hughley wasn't just swatting at the surface level argument, he was calling out the mindset behind it, and that's why it hit so hard. Hughley made it clear that Stephen A. was moving like a broadcaster who thinks he can slide into political commentary overnight. At the same time, Stephen A. was questioning Pete Hegseth's resume, even though he himself is a sports personality stepping into political talk. That's not a cheap jab. That's a clean, surgical critique that landed exactly where it needed to. And Hughley didn't stop there. He brought up Alvin Hughley, a 4-star admiral with 37 years of service who chose to resign rather than follow an order he believed was unlawful. That's leadership backed by real experience, not volume or bravado. This wasn't just a takedown, it was a facts-loaded reality check. So why did Stephen A. get that defensive? Here's what became obvious. Politics is not his home court, and his reaction exposed that fast. He wants respect in that lane, but he hasn't earned solid footing yet. Every time he raises his voice instead of sharpening his argument, he proves exactly what D.L. Hughley warned everyone about. When someone feels unsure inside, especially stepping into a space they don't fully understand, the reaction is almost automatic. They get defensive fast. And that's exactly what played out with Stephen A. right there on live TV. If somebody checked him on a sports take, if they told him he was wrong about LeBron James or off about the Dallas Cowboys, he wouldn't melt down like that. He'd laugh it off, crack a joke, or break it down smooth like he's done forever. Sports is his comfort zone. But the moment Sonny Hostin pressed him on the Mark Kelly comments, Stephen A. flipped into a whole different mode. He started cutting people off, raising his voice, and over-explaining every sentence like he was trying to convince himself more than anyone else. That's not confidence, that's insecurity making noise. And deep down, Stephen A. knows the truth. People with real military experience think he missed the point completely. Go search Stephen A. Smith politics and scroll the reactions. A lot of the pushback is coming from veterans and policy-minded voices saying he doesn't understand the topic at all. Here's the part that really exposes it. Many of the platforms inviting him on, like PBD Podcast, Sean Hannity, or Chris Cuomo on News Nation, aren't treating him like a serious political thinker. They know he's going to talk loud, spark chaos, and pull clicks. Noise equals views. They're not booking him for wisdom. They're booking him for spectacle. Watching Stephen A. struggle through political conversations makes for attention-grabbing TV, and the networks know it. But Stephen A. sees those invites as proof he's gaining political respect, gaining authority. gaining a seat at the big table. That illusion, the chase for political validation, is exactly what D.L. Hughley exposed, and it's starting to eat away at Stephen A.'s credibility. Let's be honest for a second. Stephen A. Smith is pushing hard for political relevance, and that push is leading him straight into bad calls. Why defend a take that's easy to challenge? Why double down when he had clean chances to step back? Because admitting he misunderstood the topic would mean admitting he doesn't command politics the way he commands sports, and his ego just won't let that happen. So what is Stephen A. actually chasing here? When public figures go all in defending an administration or a political figure, there's usually a motive: access, influence, maybe a seat at the table, maybe proximity to real power. But Stephen A. isn't running for office. He's not writing legislation. He's not realistically lining up for a cabinet role no matter how loud he gets. So why push this hard? Why keep swinging when even the Pete Hegseth openly contradicts the stance he's defending? The cleanest explanation is this: Stephen A. is trying to build political capital. He's positioning himself as a black conservative-leaning voice that an administration can point to and say, see, we've got support right here. And once you see that angle, a lot of this behavior suddenly makes sense. But while he's reaching for this new lane, he's letting go of the one thing that made him powerful in the first place: credibility. And that's where the story cracks open even wider. Let's rewind to what actually sparked all of this. Mark Kelly Nakarkwa, a Navy combat pilot, astronaut, and decorated veteran, simply reminded the military that they are not required to follow unlawful orders. That's it. Nothing extreme, nothing rebellious. This principle is written straight into the Uniform Code of Military Justice and taught early in military training. Stephen A. twisted that message into something it was never meant to be. He claimed Kelly was telling troops to defy the president and accused him of undermining discipline. But Kelly never said, disobey your commander-in-chief. He said service members are not required to follow unlawful orders, something every member of the military already understands. One version creates chaos, the other is basic military law. And when actual military voices stepped in to correct the record, Stephen A. didn't pause or adjust. He doubled down again, raised his voice again, and got even more defensive. That's not journalism. That's ego fighting to stay afloat. Now, here comes D.L. Hughley's sharpest point: the tale of two black men. Hughley didn't just challenge the argument, he dissected Stephen A.'s posture in real time. He compared him to Alvin Hughley, a 4-star admiral with 37 years of service who once chose to resign rather than follow an order he believed was unlawful. Hughley didn't jump on TV yelling. He didn't defend something he believed was wrong. He quietly walked away from power rather than compromise his principles. That's what real leadership looks like: calm strength backed by truth. Stephen A. is moving in the opposite direction. He's choosing volume over substance. He's choosing loyalty to an administration over loyalty to facts. He's choosing ambition over honesty. And that's why D.L. Hughley's comparison hit so hard. It exposed Stephen A. as someone who thinks being loud equals being right, who mistakes aggression for authority, and who confuses confidence with competence. The real danger of being loud and wrong goes way beyond one media personality fumbling a take. We're living in serious times where real laws and real consequences hit real lives every single day. This isn't sports talk. This isn't a LeBron James versus Michael Jordan debate. This isn't about hot takes or TV theatrics. This is about military law, constitutional rules, and whether service members are required to follow unlawful orders. These are the kinds of issues that decide whether a system holds together or starts cracking at the seams. These aren't playful debates at all. These are life or death questions. And when someone with Stephen A. Smith's massive platform sends the wrong message about what military law actually says, that becomes dangerous fast. It confuses people. It pushes the idea that following lawful orders means blind obedience, and it paints questioning authority, even when authority is wrong, as betrayal instead of responsibility. That's not patriotism. That's control dressed up as loyalty. Whether this comes from misunderstanding or pure ambition, Stephen A. is adding to that confusion, and that's what makes this bigger than one viral TV moment. But let's be clear, Stephen A. isn't the entire problem here. He's a symptom of a much bigger mess inside today's media culture. We're in an era where the loudest take gets rewarded more than the accurate one, where being wrong but confident pulls more attention than being right and measured. You see it everywhere. People on the left stirring frustration, people on the right chasing outrage like it's currency, everyone hunting clicks, heat, and viral chaos. And the networks know exactly what they're doing. That's why they keep putting Stephen A. on political panels. Not because he's a policy expert or deeply informed, but because he's entertaining. They know he'll bring volume, spark clashes, and light up social feeds. That's exactly what happened on The View. Stephen A. didn't walk in hunting real dialogue. He walked in defending his pride, and the producers knew that energy would travel fast. This is the media environment we're stuck in, one that rewards chaos over clarity, and it's making serious conversations about real issues harder by the day. Now, let's get to Stephen A.'s core problem. He simply cannot admit when he's wrong. That flaw is what keeps turning small moments into full-blown blow-ups. His issue isn't his political views, it's not even his angle. It's the refusal to say, I got that wrong. If Stephen A. had gone on The View and said, I listened to military voices and I misunderstood Mark Kelly, this entire firestorm would have ended right there. People respect honesty. They respect accountability. But Stephen A.'s ego won't let him take that step. So instead, he gets louder, digs in deeper, and starts questioning the credentials of people who disagree, even when he doesn't hold those credentials himself. That's exactly why D.L. Hughley's breakdown hit so hard. D.L. didn't just argue with the take. He exposed the character flaw underneath it, the refusal to ever say, I got that wrong. And once that flaw was exposed, everything else started snapping into focus. Here's the real truth. Stephen A. is elite at what he does in the sports world. When he talks basketball or football, he brings energy, presence, and sharp insight. That's his lane, and he dominates it. But politics is a completely different arena. The same tactics that work on sports panels, bold claims, loud delivery, digging in no matter what, can turn dangerous fast in political conversations. In sports, being wrong just means a bad take. If Stephen A. Smith misses on the Cowboys, nobody's life changes. But when the topic shifts to military law, constitutional principles, and leadership, the stakes jump way up. This isn't debate show theater anymore. This is real-world impact, with real consequences. When false ideas about military law get spread, when veterans get questioned for stating basic facts, and when impossible positions get defended just to score points with certain politicians, credibility starts slipping fast. A bad sports take doesn't erase rights. But in this lane, the consequences hit way harder than Stephen A. ever expected. D.L. Hughley didn't just check Stephen A., he peeled back the entire political image in front of millions. He showed that Stephen A. has been moving like someone who believes being loud automatically makes him right. And the wild part? Stephen A. still doesn't see it. He's still standing on shaky ground, still convinced volume can overpower facts, even as the truth keeps stacking up. That's not confidence, that's ego refusing to blink. And until Stephen A. can admit he missed the mark, until he shows real humility, and until he stops treating political conversations like a TV debate segment, this cycle is going to keep repeating. D.L. Hughley held up a mirror and made something impossible to ignore. Stephen A. is chasing political validation so hard that he's risking the one thing he spent decades building: credibility. Don't move like Stephen A. Smith. Move like Alvin Halsey, someone who stood on principle instead of ego. If you think D.L. Hughley just delivered one of the hardest breakdowns of the year, hit that like button. If you think Stephen A. should stay in his lane and stick to sports, drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more real breakdowns that cut through the media noise, make sure you subscribe, because this conversation is far from over.